Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to our panels. My name is Siti Syahiera Binti Mohammad Razali. Along with my partner Noor Emylia Binti Mustafa, will be presenting regarding the psychological impacts of the online learning towards Malaysian university students. For research background, the Malaysian government has encountered a severe disease outbreak of COVID-19 that threatens the nation's health and also the higher education system. Most universities in Malaysia has shifted from the traditional way of learning to an online learning platform. There are two factors that lead to the education problems during online learning. There are lack of face-to-face learning and also worry about future study plans. The purpose of this particular study is to identify the influence of lack of face-to-face learning and worry about future study plans towards the education problems during online learning among Malaysian university students.
Next, I'm going to explain regarding to the problem statement. As we can see during the pandemic, as the university has adopted with the system of online learning, as we can see that student mental health need to be continually monitored by the responsible parties. It is because we can see that most of the student has been faced with the stress due to the online learning that promoted toward the weaknesses of elements, lack of face-to-face learning, worrying about their studies and worry about their future career. As we can see, based on the Plinichenko 2020 online platform that been used during online learning has raised the sense of depression and also anxiety towards the undergraduate university student. As well as we can see that this situation can trigger the student when to commit suicide, because most of the student we can see that they are unable to control the stress and depression that been faced during online learning.
For research questions and research objectives, there are two research questions and two research objectives. For research questions, what is the relationship between lack of face-to-face learning and education problems? The second research question is what is the relationship between worry about future study plans and education problems? For research objectives, there are two research objectives. The first one is to identify the relationship between lack of face-to-face learning and education problems. The second research objective is to identify the relationship between worry about future study plans and education problems. For conceptual framework, the title is Psychological Impact of COVID-19 towards Malaysian university students. So there are two separate boxes, which are the green box and the orange box. The green box indicates the independent variable, which is the psychological indicator in terms of education, which includes the elements of lack of face-to-face learning and worry about future study plans. And there is a particular arrow that shows the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. For the orange box, which is the dependent variable, it includes the elements of education problems, where under education problems there are three elements, which are low motivation, ineffective online learning, and also low academic achievement.
Furthermore, I'm going to explain regarding to the independent variable and hypothesis development. So the first independent variable can be known as lack of face-to-face learning. So basically, lack of face-to-face learning can be identified as the lack of interaction between the lecturer and a student, because we notice that during the online learning, they are using the online platform in order to gain knowledge and gain the learning. So the hypothesis development is HO1, there is no significant relationship between lack of face-to-face learning and education problems. And HA1, there is significant relationship between lack of face-to-face learning and education problems. The second independent variable can be known as worry about future study plan. As we can see during the COVID-19, most of the university has adopted with the online learning. But then we can see through the online learning that been used, they are being assisted with the delay of the learning and also the problems and issue that been faced during the pandemic. As well as we can see it can be promoted towards the worry about future study plan between the student. As well as we can see that the hypothesis development, HO2, is there is no significant relationship between worry about future study plans and education problems. And HA2, there is significant relationship between worry about future study plans and education problems.
For research methodology, we had undertake a quantitative method and utilizes a correlational research design. For unit of analysis are the individuals of Malaysian university students who were affected by the online learning during the pandemic of COVID-19. For the sample of this particular study are 384 respondents among Malaysian university students who were affected by the online learning during the pandemic of COVID-19. We had utilizes a convenient sampling technique. For the data measurement, we had undertake a Likert scale, and for data collection, there are three separate sections, which are section A includes the demographic questions. For section B, it includes the dependent variable questions, which are education problems, and section C are the independent variables questions of psychological indicator in terms of lack of face-to-face learning and worry about future study plans. For data analysis, we had utilizes two different methods, which are descriptive analysis and Pearson product moment correlation.
Now, I'm going to explain regarding to the finding. The first demographic is gender. It is where we can see that most of the respondent is from the gender of female. It is where it consists 56%, while for the male consists of 44% only. For the age, we can see that the majority age is between 21 years old and above. It is where it required and containing the percentage of 55.7%, and for the 20 years old and below consists of 44.3%. For the level of education, we can see that the majority of our respondent is from the degree level. It is where it consists 55.5%, and for the diploma consists of 44.5%. And for the length of study, we can see that all of our respondent is from the undergraduate student, which is consists of 100%. For the postgraduate, there is 0% of our respondent. Beside that, the other demographic is referring to the current semester. As we can see that our respondent is majority from the semester 6, which is 31.8%, and followed by semester 5, which is consists 23.4%. For semester 4, consisting of 22.1%, while for the semester 3, consisting 13.0%, and semester 2 is 9.1%, and the lowest respondent is from the semester 1, which is consisting of a 0.5%. And the next demographic is online study method. As we can see that most our respondents are using the method of laptop, where it consisting of 55.2%, and the second highest is regarding to the smartphone, where it consists of 25.5%, and the lowest is computer, which is consists 19.3%. And the residential area, which is the most of our respondent majority, is from the urban area, which is consisting 62.8%. And for the semi-urban area, consisting of 25.3%, and for the rural residential area, consisting only 12%. Now, I'm going to explain regarding to the main finding. So the first objective is to examine the relationship between lack of face-to-face learning with education problems, and the analysis that been used is Pearson product moment correlation. The result indicate p-value is 0.000 and the R is 0.820, and the hypothesis that been assistant is HA1 is accepted and rejected HO1. And the second objective can be known as to examine the relationship between worry about future study plan with education problems. And the analysis that been used also Pearson product movement correlations. The result indicate p-value is 0.000 and the R is 0.805. So the hypothesis that been undertaken is HA2 is accepted and reject HO2. Next, we're moving on to the research recommendation. So basically, there is two research recommendations that been applicable. The first one is implementation of hybrid learning. As we can see that the fully online learning may be ineffective and inefficient to be implemented with the student. As we can see that the hybrid learning is a very effective. It is because it has used the combination between the physical classes and online learning. It is where we can see that the students are being freedom to use their labs and attend the physical classes where they have the collaboration between the classes and also the online learning that been applicable, so that it may ensure that the student may have the face-to-face learning also with the combination with online learning. The second research recommendation can be known as significance of study plan. As we can see that during the pandemic, where indicate with online learning, most of students have delayed their work and also they are not having a specific schedule in order to manage their time. So that it is really important for the student to have the study plan to ensure that they are manage their time accordingly to what are the priority, so that they are being effectively and efficiently to manage their time during the online learning. So that it is really important for the student to have a better study plan, so that they are not worried about their study plan that been indicate during the online learning.
For limitations of study and future suggestions, there are two limitations. The first limitations is the background of study. We suggested that this study should be replicated by international university instead of just focusing only within the context of Malaysian students. The second limitation is the scope of study. We suggested that future researchers provide other variables such as fear of isolation, emotional distress, and ineffective online platform. The last limitation is the weaknesses of quantitative study. We suggested that future researchers utilize a qualitative research such as in conducting interview in order to have a better insights and knowledge regarding the students' behavior, emotions, and attitudes when answering the survey.
In conclusion, we can see that online learning have affected the psychological of Malaysian university student. It is because we can see that during the online learning, most of the student has facing with the stress, depression, and also anxiety. As we can see that most of the Malaysian university student also agreed that online learning include with the elements and the weaknesses of lack of face-to-face learning and worry about their future study plan, which may lead towards the education problems. Lastly, I would like to say thank you so much to our panel for hearing our research presentation, and I hope that you are having a good day. Thank you so much.